sir, this is my video presentation about the learning task 1. First is, what is literature? Literature, it has different genres and expectations that gives pleasure to every reader. It allows readers to travel their imaginations and make readers to feel different emotions. The world of the text. Every word of the text is really important and meaningful to be understood. It has a deep meaning that many people can create different interpretations. Maybe we see it as a simple and short text, but when we understand what's the meaning behind the text, it can make many interpretations in our mind. The author's rule. The pen tells the unsaid thoughts of the author. They might not say what they feel, see, and experience verbally, but through literature, they can express it all. Either it happened in reality, or unrealistic, or fiction. Modes of reading. Reading a poem feels like traveling on that particular place or events. It depends on the readers how they interpret and understand the poem. What is a novel? Novel is a long narrative works of fiction with some realism. Novel describes an author's personal life that contains data and facts, and it consists a deeper understanding of human nature. Next is reading across time. Reading across time is important because we can have opportunity to trace the unfolding situations, characters, themes, and images across the centuries. It is advantage and pleasure to read across time because we can gain knowledge about these situations across the centuries. From orature to literature. Orature was the first one that works in the past centuries, where performers recite or memorize the epic story with the tears in their eyes just like dramas, and singing the song to entertain the audience. But later on, literature was known. Poets were immersed in a culture of writing. They composed songs or poems using written compositions or textual form instead of oral compositions. The human and the divine. In the Western epic tradition, the divine can instantly bridge the distance and engage in direct physical interactions to the mortals or humans. Underworld dreams. The underworld dream is the place for people who sinners and abandoned God when they still alive. The voyage of dreams about underworld allows the readers to conclude that the underworld is the place where the spirit sinners descend. Feminizing Homer. The story of the Odyssey by Homer, written by the Canadian writer Margaret Atwood, where she has given voice to women servants in the Penelopiad. The women servants were hanged and been killed by the order of Odysseus without any exact reason. They are puzzled and seeking for justice and answers for their death. The death of the innocent women servants was still questionable, and their spirits can't be in peace. Gathering rosebuds. It is useful for the reader to visit and trace for the references that writers put it on the last pages. Gathering rosebuds can give readers idea what happened or what is the real and original story and where did it started. From the first and earlier author up to the present, we can observe the different themes of an image and the glimmering bits of the past. Next is the reading across culture. Reading across culture can expand our little knowledge about literary and cultural far beyond the boundaries of our own culture. But reading across cultures or foreign works can also give us problems to understand and can make us confused because there are some unfamiliar dynasties and divinities that had been mentioned where we've never heard before. Classical drama, Greece and India. We can gain more knowledge and we can compare the works of different cultures, just like the classical drama of Greece and India. Despite of being different cultures, we can say that there are still connections or relations between the drama or story we read from the different writers and plays. Tragic flow or fate. It's a tragic fate. We can stop or prevent fate to happen. We don't know where our fate will lead and take us. No one of no one of us can predict what would happen next, and no one can control it. When fate takes place, no one can stop it, and all you can do is to let it happen. Just be wise when deciding before taking actions. Character and plot. The character and plot of the drama was different from reading it and watching it in a dramatic action. Characters and plot might change over time, so we need to adjust our expectations in order not to be disappointed and confused. Scenes from middle class life. The scenes from middle class life was quite realistic, where some people always trying hard to have everything what they wanted, and people will define you as what you wear. The scenes were related on the social reality. This world of trade and exchange, where money can be exchanged of anything, even person you wanted. Peripheral reading. Writers read other works of writers from their own national sphere. Upon reading across culture or foreign works can give inspiration to other aspiring writers to have their own version or relating it to the works they've read. Rereading in radio. As we reread and trace the works of writers to writers, we can read a different plot and we can enjoy exploring the cultures and traditions that have been used by the writers. The respect of writers from their sources doesn't gone, and they didn't forget that they are adapting themes and techniques for use in different cultural and historical circumstances. Next is the reading and translation. It is easy to read that and understand if the translation of language is the one that you use to know. It is not that hard to understand the meaning, but it's quite difficult because not all the words and the true meaning can be translated in the global English, because the essence of the words itself cannot be translated. It might be translated into other ways or paraphrase it, but it loses the true sense. Imitation, paraphrase, and metaphrase. There are versions in translating. First is imitation. Imitation is like a free translation where the original works use a starting point for a new creation in new language. Second is the paraphrase, where the translation it's not exactly copied to the original, but it uses another form of words that the thought is exactly the same with the original. The third is metaphrase. Metaphrase is quite need patience because the translation is word for word. Comparing translations, we can get a better sense of original works. It's an opportunity to identify and gain more knowledge about what does the word really means. Most of the words has a different meaning, and it's helpful to compare a translation to give enlightenment to every reader. How foreign should a translation be? Before translating the foreign works and languages to your own language, you should be aware of the chosen words you'll select. Do not just focus in your own opinion and your own words. Use legit sources to clearly understand the translation in details. In translation, you need to expound and explain the possible and closer idea of the words you've chosen in a global English. How do Spartans speak? Spartans speak. They're like private people, where it seems big deal and confidential to say something about themselves. They speak like a caveman. It seems like they belong to the past and doesn't fit in the present. Next is the brave new worlds. Give attention and focus to the new worlds. We'll see how imaginative and creative people are, translating the works of original sources and make it more fruitful and made the literature more alive and kicking makes the new world brave. Strangers in a strange land. There's no other strangers in our land but us. We're once a stranger in a strange land. It is because of the translation and treatment we feel. Like a visitor or traveler, we can make major changes or improvements to the new land, but that's if we survive the transition. Real world travels. The voyage or journey of the writers allow us to explore the places they've been in. In real world travels, there are places that you're not welcome and there are hostile people that you'll encounter, but it's all part of the real journey. Witnessing the facts, culture, tradition, and any other doings of different countries, and see things that you never seen elsewhere in, is already an honor to personally experience it. Journeying to the West. Journeying to the West is a great work both of world literature and of otherworldly literature. It seems a conjuring journey from one division to another, a journey from earth to hell, purgatory, and heaven. Though this journey to the West is just a fiction because of the word experience and description of the traveler, but it consisting a real life detail. Fictional worlds. Fictional, fictional worlds may seem fantasy and inventions by the travelers or writers, but it somehow reflects the real world. What travelers have seen in their voyage often include a substantial amount of real-life detail. Fictional worlds can still be authentic to life in deep ways. Looking homeward. A century ago, many literary travelers continued to voyage along pathways set down by older migrants and by earlier authors, and as they looking homeward, they see it with their new eyes. Next is writing empire. Writers who deliberately write world literatures are always involved in arranging between home and foreign cultures. When works of the writers concerned in relations between imperial power and its current or former colonies become particularly lofty. These effects can conclude from writer's own idea or from later readers' feet. Mapping the world. The Lost Sheds is an active tale of defying adventures, and also a visual road map of the newly opened globe. This literary work is similar in some way of the work of the cartographers who were ago mapping the widened world. Exploring and mapping the world can discover writings. Darkest Africa, Darkened London. The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad can't be called a great work or art and don't deserve to be celebrated. It is already the humanization of Africa and Africans, in which this in which depersonalize a portion of the human race, eliminating the African as a human factor just because of their darkest was a poverty. And this is also has been one of the dark places of the earth, Marlowe says at the outset of the story. As the sun sets over London, Marlowe's objective vision is the one with a dark night of the soul. Elysian, Ogon, and Oedipus. Elysian is the companion and a counselor of the king. He also known as the horseman of the king. As commanded by the tradition, he needs to prepare to commit suicides in order to accompany his king into the afterlife. Elysium embodies aspects to the Yoruba god Ogun. Elysium and Oedipus has in common. They both face with the need to carry through an ancestral pattern that other characters wish to relegate to ancient history. Candide the optimist, Said the pessimist. Said is not purely optimistic, he has a sense of pessimist, and combining the two words, Said goes by the name Said the pessimist. Candide the optimist satirized religious dogmatism, but soft-pedaled criticism of his own aristocratic class. Love in a Fallen City. The story Love in a Fallen City by Eileen Chang includes two melodies that are played together, which is romantic and political betrayal in colonial setting, where the two characters fell in love in a fallen city or in the world of warring empires. Next is global writing. Though writers sent and located their characters to other countries, they still written for audiences at home. It explores a variety of strategies writers have developed for reaching audiences in a globalizing world. The global and the delocalized. Global. Think globally and act locally. This strategy of writing embodies the idea that writers can create local manners for a global readers and emphasize emotion from the outside world in presenting their locality of global exchange, while the localized strategy of writing is free from the limitations of locality, free of any direct references, and can try out every subject. Global Istanbul. The native Istanbul was once insignificant until the novelist Orhan Pamuk globalized his native Istanbul. Then all the traditions and old gestures of the Istanbul's residents are abandoned and adopted the ones shown on the screen, and each and everything that they used to do are just now a duplicate. Binational globalism. Binational globalism strategy matching the paradox of life at home and abroad. A binational perspective of the writers expressed both for home audiences and global readership. Second generation fictions. The emigrants' angle of vision occurs in the second generation as their children concerns about their experiences. Second generation often used in making fictional story or novellas about the emigrants of their parents and the experience in life. Multinationalism. In this new global relations, being a multinationalism is advantage when traveling to other countries, able to understand their cultures and help us orient ourselves in the often disorienting worlds of global fiction. Last is epilogue, going further. The preceding chapters have offered a guidance on major issues we face on reading world literature. Tracing lines of influence and adaptation can also provide an analytical way to explore a wide literary movement or tradition. It isn't easy to choose what to read among the uncountable literary works, but relying or taking hints to the favorite authors is one of the good ways to proceed reading. The, the more we know about the culture origin, its people and daily costumes, etc., the more the more fully we can understand the transformation that a writer has wrought. And that's all, sir. Thank you.